ADC tier list, huh? Let's get all the ADCs on the board here. Every ADC is D tier. Yep. Mages are kind of useless anyways, to be honest. I'm gonna keep it real with you lads. Mages in both are not that good right now, so I'm not gonna do any mages. This is ADC tier list for patch 25.09. The new season, the Spirit Blossom season. I'm afraid to say that not many things have changed. This will be a YouTuber, so if you guys want to say hi YouTube, you can say hi YouTube. Let's get into all the changes. I haven't done a public tier list in quite some time. If you're interested in getting a new updated tier list for every patch, however, go check out my Patreon, where I'll be continuously updating it for every new patch. And then probably I'll do like a YouTube update every few months when I feel like a significant amount of things have changed. So let's go through just in the order of the champs that I put them here. I hope I didn't forget any champions. But, you know, worst case, I got Twitch out with me here who can remind me if I missed any single one of them. Well, first of all, we got Aphelios. Aphelios always is a tough one to rate. Has a really poor win rate in solo queue. And I think I'm inclined to put him off in B tier to start off here. He does have around, I think, 49 to 50% win rate right now. He's a very hard to play champion, but he's very, very fun. He's very rewarding. I think still the Yuntal Swiftness build is the best build. And I think he's not quite like CD tier, but he's not good. I think I would really like to see him. I think he's going to be on the lower end of B, maybe even C tier. I think lower end of B is where I want to put him for now, but of course he's the first champion, so he's just in B tier for now. But definitely feels like a low B for me. Maybe I'll move him down a little bit though. The build that I run, Swiftness, boots with Yuntal into Infinity Edge, into LDR, really high damage. You get attack speed from the Yuntal, so you can get the moon speed from the Swiftness boots, and that allows you to play much more aggressively and just feels way better to play in general. Then we have Ezreal. Ezreal is a champion that has actually been struggling quite a bit, and I'm inclined to put him pretty down low. He has really bad win rate these last few patches, and especially if I'm thinking about the average player watching this tier list. Like, it's always a bit hard when I make this tier list, like how low elo centered do I want it to be, how high elo centered, and I try to find a good mix in between, right? But Ezreal, kind of similar to Aphelios, is a champion where in high elo I think he's still decent, but in lower elos I really think he's really bad, because it's really hard to play. He's really hard to carry on specifically. I think it's not that hard to win lane on him, but to carry on him you really need to hit all the Qs, play really well with your E, and be able to wind in a lot of auto attacks in between your Qs, which is very difficult. So I think he falls in B tier alongside Aphelios. Samira, I think first C tier. I think Samira sucks. I love to play her, and I just don't see why I'd ever play her right now. I just think she's really bad. Doesn't have the base damage that you'd want. Doesn't have the base stats. You want to snowball on her, but she loses every lane. And Senna, she stays in D tier. Stays in D tier. Maybe I should add a tier here just like for the unranked champs. Where's Senna? Senna, D tier. Just sucks. Just sucks. They made her a support. They removed so much AD from her kit and damage. She's way better with support items. Just not a good ADC, I'm afraid. I wouldn't really recommend playing her. If you want to play her, just play her support. But please don't play her support, because I hate having Senna support. She's getting buffed next patch though, so we'll see, I guess, what happens. But I just think her champion design right now is really bad. Caitlyn, another B tier for me. I think she's alright, but not the best. Not that many range supports being played in high elo. Not any Lux being played in high elo, which is her favorite partner. Not that much Karma either. I think with Lux Karma though, she can be pretty strong. You really want something to poke the enemy bot lane out and win lane. If the champion wins lane, very obnoxious. But if she loses lane, kind of useless. Sivir, I think high B tier. Scales well, has good wave clear. Really low fighting power though, and doesn't provide a whole lot else. But once you get to scale up and get strong, then you can do quite a bit. Draven, I'm putting every champion to B tier so far, but I think Draven's B tier as well. I just don't think he's that good. He's just alright. Yeah, he's just alright, I think. He could use a buff, to be honest. Maybe I'm biased. I just don't feel like he packs the same punch that he normally does. Jinx, A tier, just very solid pick, very easy to pull off. Weaker in high elo, a bit better in low elo, but as long as you get through the laning phase, you get the 2-3 items, you get a random reset, you can carry the game. You know the jazz. Just position well, get your crit items, go Yuntal, not Kraken or any bullshit like that, and you will be good to go. Vayne, in lower elos, I'd say she's like A B tier, but she's so bad in high elo that I'm gonna put her C tier. Just struggles too much in lane to really function as a champion. Doesn't have nearly good enough wave clear. Probably has the worst wave clear out of any ADC in this list. It's just due to her outdated kit design. I think if she had wave clear, she'd be the best champion in the game. But I do think maybe in the future, something that I would explore if I was a Riot Games designer would be removing some of Vayne's power and giving her more wave clear to make her more better in every elo. And then we have Varus. Varus is probably A tier, I think. He's very strong both on hit and lethality. Has a very good laning phase. You can bully a lot. And overall, Just a fantastic, versatile champion. Can be a little bit hard to pull off with his lack of mobility, and I think he's a little bit better in higher elos than lower elos, just due to the fact that he really wants to snowball off of a good early laning phase. But if you're able to play the laning phase well, then you should do well on Varus. Speaking of, Ashe. Very similar to Varus, also very good laning phase. Doesn't have the versatility of being able to go lethality, but I think Ashe and Varus are very similar. Like if Varus has played on it and Ashe has played crit, they're really similar champions, both very strong laning phases with utility ultis that are all about CCing and locking people down, and just really high bursts while having good DPS. But both of them fall off towards the later stages where more crit champions start to, or more standard like crit hyper carries start to outvalue them. And then Jhin, I think Jhin is really good. I think he's A tier. I think there's only going to be one S tier champion. I think he's gonna be, let's put Jhin low A tier though. I think Jhin is low A tier. He's just a very easy champion to win on in terms of like, he has so much hidden power. I think a lot of people don't understand, like if you play a good Jhin and you set people up with your Ws, you're hitting the ultis, you provide so much to the game, which no other ADC can, which is why Jhin always has usually a pretty good win rate in solo queue. We can see what his win rate is right now. If I were to wager, I'd say it's around like 52%, something like that. Could be lower, but he's usually at pretty high win rate, which he's not right now, actually. His win rate is only 50.5. But normally his win rate is pretty good. Maybe if we look at 30 days for a larger sample size, it's going to be more favorable for him. Yeah, and then it's more 51.6. And it's not like he got nerfed, right? So I don't think he's significantly changed. It's just his win rate is a little bit lower right now. There's also the Yumus build and the Hubris build. I like the Hubris Dark Harvest build. I think Dark Harvest on Jhin is a lot better, especially for lower elos where there's more fighting. And it's also just a lot more fun. So I would recommend play Dark Harvest on Jhin to kind of stagnate and be this late game terror. And then there's Xayah. I'm really inclined to put Xayah in S tier, but I don't think the stats support me here. But I really feel like Xayah is very, very, very strong. She has been my easiest champion to climb on. Granted, I'm pretty good on Xayah, but I feel like she's very easy to win on. And she's just so versatile. The only problem is you need an engaged support. But I really like Xayah right now for climbing, so I think I'm gonna put her S tier. I think if you're a good Xayah, you can carry a lot of games. But at the same time, the average player wins more games with Jinx than Xayah. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll put her somewhere like here. I think it's more realistic. I think something like this feels more right to me. If it were my own personal comfort, I'd put Xayah Z tier, you know? Because I think Xayah is, for me, very easy to climb on. I feel like if I get to 3 items, I'm gonna carry the game. But that's a bit personal bias coming in there. And Kalista, our second D tier entry. After her most recent nerf, I believe she has the lowest win rate in the game if we look at the news patch. I think so. Let's have a look. Yeah, only her and Senna. Only Senna has the lower win rate with 700 games. And Kalista still has a small but dedicated audience, and even they cannot play Kalista. You might ask, why did they even nerf Kalista? She was already bad in solo queue. The answer is pro play. She has still had really high priority in pro play, and unfortunately that just means that in solo queue she's near unplayable right now. I'd really not recommend to play her. If you enjoy this lane bully style that Kalista provides, I'd recommend playing Draven. It's not quite the same, but it's relatively similar, and Draven is just much, much better as a champion. But speaking of a much, much better champion, MF, who I think is our first entry into the S tier category here. I think MF is really easy to play, really strong. You can go BT, you can go lethality. She works with a whole bunch of different team comps. You can play her with enchanters, you can play her with melee supports. She has an incredibly obnoxious laning phase while also scaling really good. She doesn't really scale bad. She doesn't scale like a Zeri or a Jinx or an Aphelios, but she scales way better than something like Kalista. So her scaling is decent while having an incredibly strong early game. Overall, very good. Then we have Smolder. My boy, I've been playing a lot of Smolder. A lot of Dark Harvest, Hubris, stacking Smolder. But the problem is, Little Dragon kinda sucks. C tier. He's just not very good. His laning phase is not as bad as it used to be, but his scaling used to be insane. His scaling isn't insane anymore. When I hit 225 stacks, it's like, okay, I get 5% more damage. It used to be when you hit 225 stacks, the game just ended. You just win. But now you hit 225 stacks and it feels like a bonus. What is that bonus adding up to? But he is getting buffed next patch. I'm curious to see what they decide to buff. I think if they give him some significant early game buff, because I think they're trying to make him more of an early game champ rather than just this late game monster. And I want to say, if you want to play Smolder, try Dark Harvest with Hubris, as it is some of the most fun I've had playing League in a long, long time. It was insanely fun. I really enjoyed it. Then we have Lucian, Lucian is a champion that, from what I've seen, is a lot stronger than I initially thought. In Korea, he had very, very good stats. If we look at Lucian over the last 14 days in Korea, we will see that he's incredibly high pick rate at 24%. I think he's maybe even the highest pick rate in Korea of ADCs. Him and Ezreal are the highest, but with Lucian having a 53% win rate, he might even be S tier. But I'm gonna put him A tier because I don't really fully know his strength. He's not played much in EUS. It's interesting. In EUS, he still has a decent pick rate, but it's more around like 10%. It's 11%, while also having much lower of a win rate. The builds on both servers are the same. They just go Essence Reaver into Infinity Edge. But in Korea, they just win more on him. And then the question is, why do they win so much more on him? I'd say it's a lot due to just the fact that they have lower ping, they fight more, they have better mechanics, and Lucian really serves that. So if you enjoy playing this like high intensity, mechanical, high mobility style, then Lucian is for you. And yeah, it looks like he's pretty damn strong right now. Maybe in the next tier list, I'll move him up to S tier after I've tested him out more, after I've seen him more. But in EU, just haven't played against him much, and I haven't played him too much myself. In the games that I did play him, I found him kind of clunky, but that might just be because I was rusty on the champion. Then we have Kog'Maw, low B tier, I think. Just doesn't do great into a lot of the meta options right now. He's good with Lulu. Actually, nah. I think low B tier. You kind of want Lulu really badly, or Braum, or Milio. But even then, I feel like I'd rather play like Ashe, or Varus, or even Jinx. So it's just like not that much of a place for Kog'Maw right now. And then Zeri is B or C tier. I think maybe B tier. I feel like she's better than these 3 champs. Yeah, I think she's better than these 3 champs. I think she still can be situationally decent, and she's also the safest scaling ADC. So what I mean by that is that she has so much mobility with her E, and as long as you hug walls, it can be very easy to get to a stage where you're 10 CS per minute and you're kind of chilling, which I feel like is not really the case for something like a Sivir, something like a Jinx that has just much less mobility than Zeri does. Now the trade-off is that she has a lot less wave clear than them, but I think that safety trade-off is worth it, and I do think if you can get to 2-3 items, Zeri is still a very good champion. Then Xayah. I think Xayah is a low B tier as well. I think she should be, like how Xayah should be, is situationally Z tier. This is how Xayah should be, in my opinion. If enemy comp is all diving onto you, it's like a Vi, Diana, Yasuo, Renekton, Kai'Sa, Nautilus, right? Xayah should be Z tier, but she's not. She's not right now. Her item sucks. The lack of the old Navori that boosted her spells really, really hurt her, and I don't think she's recovered since. She just doesn't have the same spikes as she used to, and she doesn't do... she's the only champion, in my opinion, that unironically does not do decent damage until you have 4 items. You need your starter item, which was going to be Yuntal. Then you need Infinity Edge. Then you need Navori. Then you need LDR. You need so many items. While most champions, you only need 3 items. But with her, I feel like you need 4. You need 4. So that's for me, it's the biggest problem that I feel with Xayah. I just feel like you need so long to scale. And I think Tristana, funnily enough, is a champion that thrives in a lot of the same situations that Xayah does, but she just does so much better. Where Tristana, if she's into this all engaged comp as well, she can kite back with the W, she can buff her CC, but she has way better all-in threat, she has way more kill pressure, she has way better mobility, she has longer range, she has more attack speed, she has more burst. There's just a lot more things going for Tristana, which is why I'm putting her high A tier. I really like Tristana. I think she's very solid. Actually, I think even higher. I think maybe even S. Nah, maybe even S tier. Oh, maybe even S tier. What's her win rate? Win rate check. She did get a slight nerf, but I don't think it affected her too much. That's an S tier. That looks like an S tier. This is Korea I'm looking at right now, but let's look at global. This is an S tier. This is an S tier. Even Lolalytics says it. This is tier S. She's incredibly versatile. The only weakness she has is a generally quite weak first few levels of laning phase. And if you can't all in, as in if you're weaker to jump in, she's very useless. So you really want to pair her up with an engaged support or something like a Lulu that's strong early game that can help you bridge that gap and allow you to jump in. Because if you can jump in and you can one-shot people, you are a complete menace. I also recommend going Lethal Tempo and going Yuntal. I remember I used to be a big lover of Halo Blades, but ever since they nerfed the Domination Tree, it's just not good anymore. So you should play her more as a standard crit carry rather than trying to go Collector and one-shot people like that. Twitch. Low B tier, I think. A little bit better than these two, but not the greatest. I think I'd put him right here. You can still cheese people with stealth. You know how it goes. I always talk about this with Twitch, right? He's always going to be a decent solo queue champion because you can always snowball yourself with stealth, and enemy mid will never respect the Twitch no matter what. So you're always going to be able to get kills that way. But other than that, I just don't think the items right now are great for him. After the Axiom Arcanist nerf that happened quite a few patches ago, he's never really fully recovered. You should go sudden impact on him now. It does have better win rate, but just not the craziest champ. And other hyper carries can kind of do a similar job, but a little bit better. And it's also very ultra aligned, which can be pretty annoying. Nilah. Where do I put you? Nilah's a weird one. I don't think I've seen a Nilah in the past 100 games. So how do I rate this champion? I'm pretty sure her win rate's probably going to be pretty good because her win rate's always pretty good. A very hard champion to rate for me. Very hard champion to rate. Maybe I just make a Nilah tier. You know what? Fuck it. I just make a Nilah tier. If you want to play Nilah, go for it. You'll make it work, champ. But I don't know how strong she is. It's really hard for me to say. She's situationally very strong, is my gut feeling. If you're not against the Poppy, if you're not against too many melee champions that can f you up and CC you, you should be pretty good. She thrives into immobile carries, so you ideally want to play against that you can reach. And I would say that that she is really good when you one-trick her, but if you just want to play her casually, it's hard to make her work, I think. And then Corki. This one might be a bit controversial. I wanted to place him B tier, but I'm actually not going to place him B tier. I think if I placed him B tier, this is where my gut feeling tells me to place him. Then I remember the last 10 games I played against Corki, and I got a... So, I have to put him a bit higher. But I don't think he's as good as people think. He does have an obnoxious laning phase, but he just doesn't win games very often. He has around a 50.4% win rate, when the average here is 51.3. I think even across, if you go Master Plus, his win rate is still not significantly good. It's still at 52% when the average is 52.5. So I think he, for me, gets a low placement into A tier. His laning phase can be really annoying, but if you have good movement and you're able to dodge his rockets and his Qs, his damage is really subdued. And if you never play in range of his W, then he loses that win con as well. And I do think he really falls off if he's not able to just one-shot people. And in most of my games, if it gets to 2-3 items, he does start to just fall off. But I have seen this new build of BT ER. So actually, let's see what the win rate of that build is. I'm curious to see how that is, because that has looked pretty strong. Maybe with that, it's a lot higher. It's actually lower. That's interesting. It's pretty much the same. Doesn't seem to be a huge difference whether you go BT or Trinity Force. I'm gonna put him low A tier. I think he still can be pretty annoying to play against, but I don't think he's actually that strong. He's a good champ to win lane on, but hard champ to win game on. Kind of like Ezreal, I think. A little bit similar. Both champions are quite similar. That's my ADC tier list for patch 21.9. Do you have any disagreements? Let me know down in the comments, and I will argue with you. If you are interested in more educational content, check out the Patreon. Check out the courses down below and my website for coaching. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. Bye bye, YouTube.